It's time to take a look at Jeremy Sochan and what is one thing we need him to do moving into the next season.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia. Happy Monday, everybody. I am a Spurs beat writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Can you believe it? The start of the NBA season is right around the corner. Media day kicked off already for the Spurs. You got training camp in the next few days. Seriously, it's going to be a whirlwind of silver and black, and that is why you are here at Locked On Spurs, your one and only stop for all things San Antonio Spurs. What are we talking about today? We're going to continue our series about looking at players and focusing on one thing they need to do moving into the new season. It could be good or bad. It could be something as simple as shooting, or it could be something that they're doing really, really well since wearing silver and black uniforms, and they need to keep that going. We're going to put into the focus Jeremy Sochan today on this episode of Locked On Spurs. We'll be focused on the defensive end. That'll be my task. And our guest, he'll be focusing on the offensive end for Jeremy Sochan. But yeah, he's entering his third season. No longer that, oh, I'm just a rookie, I'm just a young guy. He's a veteran now. He's an NBA vet. And the Spurs are going to need him moving forward in the rebuild. Look, he's still got a lot to prove, but I think he's getting there. He's slowly, in my opinion, has the makings to become a solid two-way player in the NBA. We'll see if our guest agrees. He's going to bring him on. He's my colleague at Ken's 5 San Antonio. He is Casey Viera, live and in person from his vehicle, everybody.
Yep. Simply put, we I guess we got caught a little behind schedule, and I don't know. I was errand running, while playing the weight game a bit, and we're still errand running.
Yeah. So as you can see,
but anyways,
you got to do what you got to do for the family. I get it. I understand that.
Yes, you know how it goes.
By the way, how's the little one doing?
Oh, he is fantastic.
Good.
He is fantastic. The light of my life in many respects.
I bet. Not bad, man.
He is truly coming into his own. You know, he's looking like a true two-way player on the court right now. What more?
He gets that from you, right? I mean, he gets those skills from you, right, on the court?
No, I don't. I didn't play defense.
Oh, you're all offense, huh?
I could shoot. I can spot up a little bit. Don't ask me to play defense. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're a situational player. They need some scoring. They throw them in. You need to be like a hacker, Casey. You'll knock down some free throws. But if they need you to lock down Luka, good luck.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's a positive spin on it.
Well, Casey,
sure.
You are coming on Locked On Spurs. We're doing this series where we put a player in the spotlight and we ask our guests, in this case you, what is one thing you want to see fill in the blank player's name do? And today we're going to put into spotlight Jeremy Sochan. Before we get into your one thing and my one thing, he's sometimes he could be the whipping boy for Spurs fans. You know, they always point to him, and you know he's an easy target. But before we dive into our specifics, overall, the last two seasons heading to his third, he's not a bad player. I mean, he's good. He's not going to floor you with stats, you know, maybe at night, but he's going to do a lot of the dirty work. He's going to give you some scoring days, and he's also give you some days where he's just locked down defender and irritant on the court. Before we get into your thoughts, Casey, what have we seen so far out of third-year pro Jeremy Sochan now?
Yeah, you know, last year we were talking about, and before you and I hit the record button on this, was for a good portion of the season, half, maybe even 2/3 of the season, he really was public enemy number one.
Yeah, he really was.
And a lot of it, if we're being fair, and I'll be the first to tell you, I was right there with the criticism too. I was right. I was at the forefront, because a lot of it just goes back to what essentially was overly ambitious coaching and trying to make him the starting point guard of this team, which, as we learned, does not work. Which, as we learned through the first quarter to half of the season that getting the ball to Victor Wembanyama was a whole lot easier said than done. And he being the starting point guard, the head of the snake, essentially, he took the brunt of it. Some deserved, some not deserved. You want to say the deserved part because at the end of the day, it is him on the floor doing this, and he at least had enough established enough faith in the coaching staff to at least let them try the experiment and work it out. But it didn't necessarily work out. And while some of the criticism was fair, some of it was not. But I'll be the first to tell you I was right there at the forefront being critical in the first half. But I have to be very diplomatic because once they veered away from that experiment and they went a little bit more traditional route and they put the ball in his hands less in the context of being a facilitator, playmaker, the person who needs to operate this offense, he excels. And they put him back in a bit more of a traditional role, and he looked more comfortable. He openly said he felt more comfortable. He said during the season how much that he didn't care, put in PG terms, how much he didn't care to be playing that point guard spot.
Right.
At least on the starting role. So as a whole, I think this year will be a good opportunity for him, knowing that that's not, in all likelihood, not going to be him, the main focal point of the offense. You're going to see him play more of what you saw last year and what is essentially his true position, which is not as the starting point guard of an NBA team. And I think it's a good opportunity now to showcase what complementary skills that he has been working on that we saw a little bit towards the back end of the season. At the end of the day, a lot of his offense, most of his offense is going to be facilitated by the stuff that you said at the start. Hustle, defense, creating his own opportunities, second chance putbacks, and above all else, hitting down spot up corner threes.
Right.
That's going to be the difference in what's going to see him on the floor an extended period of time this year. That and defense, given the way that the team is constructed around Victor, that's what it's going to take. So the window of opportunity is there, though, for Jeremy, for sure, I think.
Yeah, I was at that last season, that post-practice media session where the point guard responsibility hit him like a ton of bricks. Like it finally got caught up to him. He wasn't, for those of you who've never seen Jeremy, in the locker room or just ahead of conferences, he's very jovial, very nice, very smiling, laughing. Even the Spurs get trounced, he's a little upset, but he's positive. And it finally got to him. And that's when he dropped the F-bomb. He said he's effing sick and tired of it. So it got to him. And I think Spurs fans cannot discount that was, he did. I mean, I think he sniffed it in Baylor and at point guard spot, and that was it. And he's never been tasked to do that. Then you got yourself Wemby there on the court with you, and okay, just give it to him. And as you mentioned, Casey, it's a lot easier said than done. So you culminate all that, and maybe he had a kind of a rough start to the season, but he finished strong, and we're going to get into that now. Casey, let's start off with you. You kind of alluded it already. You're going to focus on the offensive end. What is one thing you would like to see Sochan continue to do or fix on the offensive end?
I need to see that three ball, like I said, start dropping a little bit more. Because that, again, is what I think is going to be a primary source of his offense, certainly in the half-court set, because if you're going out there, that starting lineup, they're potentially going to run out there. The guys who are going to be getting the looks on each of the two wings and the corners who are not going to be having the ball in the primary amount of the possessions to create their own opportunities. It's going to be him and Harrison Barnes. Yeah. Harrison Barnes has been established to be able to do that for a considerable amount of time and has succeeded in that role and being an NBA veteran for almost a decade and a half now.
Yeah.
Jeremy Sochan is going to have those opportunities as well. And again, whether or not he sees the floor a consistent amount of time, or certainly can help this offense shine, is if he can hit those open threes. And at 32 collectively, 33% collectively all last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an ideal. That's not an ideal number.
No.
But I think that is, even if you can get that number up to that 35, 36 range, which probably equates to 3 more points a night. Theoretically, that's a solid jump on the scoring front from what they need. From what they don't need him to do a whole lot. I know I'm sick of talking about the offensive side of it, but they don't really need him to do a whole lot. They need him to hit his open shots. They need him to not turn. They need him to not turn the basketball over, because at times.
Hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. You want to go to FanDuel.com right now. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So much when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You just got to go to FanDuel.com right now. Speaking of FanDuel.com, look, the NBA season is also around the corner. Spurs fans, time to have some fun with your silver and black on the court. The app is very easy to get, very easy to use, user-friendly, very intuitive. Make your picks, 1, 2, 3. Bet on parlays, bet on win spreads, totals. I mean, seriously, you can have so much fun with sports this sports season with FanDuel. Again, America's #1 sports book. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Another reason why you got to go to FanDuel when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Go to FanDuel.com right now, America's #1 sports book.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the Cybertron Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We saw him get a little overly ambitious with things, and probably, like you alluded to, got into his own head a little bit, and a lot of careless turnovers, low basketball IQ plays. They need him to not turn the basketball over and keep that ball fluid in the offense. So that is the one thing that I want to keep. If I'm a Spurs fan, I'm keeping an eye out for it, because that's what's going to keep him, from an offensive standpoint, that's what's keeping him on the floor.
Yeah, and if you're looking at that 3-shot as you are, Casey, it's trending in the right direction. In rookie season, he averaged about 24% from the 3 line. Moved into his sophomore season, last season, 31% from the 3 line. And he took an extra shot from the 3 line last year. He took about 3 as opposed to 2 in his rookie season. So he's a career 28.5 3-point shooter. That's not going to cut it. But if we break down his 3-point attempts and where he likes to take them and whatnot, you look at the corner 3. Last season, he shot 32% from the corner 3. He took 144 shots. He made 46 of them. Now, all threes, just anywhere on the 3 line, he took 219. He made 70. That was good for 32%. So, yeah, you're right. There's actually work to be done beyond the arc. But for me, again, I'm going to focus on defense, but I'm just kind of following Casey's offensive focus here for Sochan. I'm a little worried about the mid-range game. Fine, Sochan, maybe you're not going to be a knockdown 3-pointer, fine. But get your mid-range game going. 33% from the mid-range last season, Casey. That put him good for the 12th percentile among players at his position. That's near the bottom. Now, what the NBA describes as a short mid-range shot, which is just outside of 4 feet, 33%. So even when he's somewhat close to the basket, he doesn't make them. He took 190 of those short mid-range shots, made 62 of them. So Sochan, if you're going to struggle at the 3 line, sure, but at least get your mid-range game going. I think even if he develops a mid-range game, Casey, that'll open up his overall game tremendously. Your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that works out for just kind of a general rule of thumb. But at the same time, if he is not, I think a lot of the mid-range struggles, I think a lot of the mid-range struggles that he had last year kind of went hand in hand with and I don't have the full scientific data numbers in front of me to prove it. This is me just kind of hypothesizing. a lot of those mid-range opportunities probably opened up in the situation where he was forced to dribble, drive, facilitate, and those are the shots that open up when you're a primary ball handler trying to get to the basket, dribble, drive, kick, all that stuff. And I could see a world where a majority of that came in that first half of the season in those possessions where he was designated to have the ball in his hand a good portion of the time. If those shots start dropping, of course
Sure.
it's going to be infinitely beneficial for that. I think that if he's put in that spot, something we saw a lot last year, though, you're towards the back end when they did put him back in a more traditional sense. You saw a lot of that high-low situation he and Victor had going on a little bit. And that'll create opportunities as well. But, yeah, that goes without saying. That if that mid-range aspect can drop, it'll certainly help. But then at the same time, you talk about that, that'll probably go hand in hand if you'll probably see that number at volume, and if you do see it at volume, would mean that they put more faith in him facilitating an offense again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like which way do you want it? Do you want him to try to create? You want the shot to drop, but those shots are probably only coming about when he's running the point guard position, theoretically, at least. So kind of pick your poison with it, I would think.
Yeah,
just talking about it out loud,
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, you look at just how dramatic it was, or just how disastrous it was for the Spurs to put him at the PG spot. So that even if they stuck him at the point guard spot for the entire season, that would have given the Spurs at least 7 expected wins out of that. But listen to this: now you move him away from that and slot him at his position, it jumped up to 42 expected wins. So you could just see the impact there just with him.
Say that one more time.
So expected wins.
Did I hear that correctly?
Exactly. So if they stuck him at point guard for the entire season, him at point guard would have contributed 7 wins overall. So 7 wins could be attributed to Sochan running the point. But when they shift him out of that and they move him to his natural spot, that's shooting guard, soft small forward spot, the Spurs overall have entered the last season with an expected 42 win season. Well, 42 wins contributed because of Sochan at his natural spot. So that's how dramatic.
I don't know how they have the. I don't know the metrics of how they totally break that down.
Yeah.
What a. God,
well, this is how the NBA breaks it down. This is how many games would a team win, the Spurs, in an 82-game season with this efficiency differential. So basically his efficiency at the point guard spot would have netted the Spurs 7 wins with Jeremy. Move him away, 42 wins. But what threw me off, though, is that, fine, you want to experiment with Sochan at the PG spot for a week, 2 weeks, sure. But the wheels fell off pretty fast, and the Spurs still stuck with it. Now, was that tanking? I don't know, but the numbers were just screaming that Sochan was not a point guard, yet the Spurs still stuck with it for longer than expected. That was just not good. Not good. But there were benefits, though. I spoke to Sochan at the end of the season about that moment in time as him and Spurs starting point guard. And although he didn't like it, he did say there was some benefit to it. He said he did learn a lot more about, the position. And, I think what the key for him, what he told me was, he was able to facilitate a lot better. He saw the court differently. So I think as much as he hated it, I think there was some benefit that I think the Spurs can utilize moving forward. Look, knock on wood, Chris Paul doesn't get hurt or anything, but if he does, and at least the Spurs know, hey, Sochan, you may not like it, but you've done this before. Can you do it for a few games, not for an entire? How long did they keep him there? Like for a month? Like it was just ridiculous.
No, it was more than a month.
It was more than okay. Yeah,
It was more than a month because you talked about all those stats. In many respects, that was a very easy stat to figure out because they lost a quarter of the season's worth of games consecutively with that losing streak. So
exactly.
in many respects, that was very easy math to figure out. I'm over here talking. How do they figure out? Well, when you lose 19 games in a row, that pretty much simplifies the equation that much more.
Yeah. But you're right. The three shot has to open up. He's aware of it. He talked about that to close out the season and heading into the offseason, which is wrapping up fast. Hey, I want to talk to you about Game Time. Go to gametime.co right now. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets easier for your favorite live events that much better. Game Time filters out the fluff, so you only get incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Hey, Game Time has it all. They have the super deal. They got seats view before you buy. They got curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats. The lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. You will be pleasantly surprised with this app. Go get it right now. Game Time Picks. Again, that's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Hey, they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. We're talking with Casey Viera, my colleague at Ken's 5. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Viera. Let him know that maybe some good spots to get errands done in San Antonio if you live here in San Antonio. Like, hey, Casey, you don't have to drive around. Go to this one-stop place and everything can be taken care of. For me, that's the dollar store, Family General, or Family Dollar. You put me in there, man, I could do everything. Anymore. Oh, what is it now? Like $1.50 now?
I don't know. I don't know. I just know it's not $1 anymore.
Yeah, you're coming out like, wait a minute, how much did I spend? I thought I'm at Family Dollar here. But nevertheless, we're putting Sochan in the spotlight. We're asking what is one thing we need to see him do better or keep on doing better moving into next season. Casey, he highlighted the shooting. I'm going to highlight the defensive end, and I'm going to pick something that he excels at, and I want him to continue it moving into the new season, and that is rebounding. Casey, I don't think he gets enough praise for how good of a rebounder is. Now, we're looking at some numbers here. So basically, defensive rebounding off missed free throws from the opposition. 15% of the time, he's going to get that live ball and missed free throw. That puts him in the 88th percentile among players at his position. Okay, it gets even better. So missed field goals from the opposition, the defensive rebounding, 15.5%. So 60% of the time he's going to get it. That's good for the 99th percentile among players at his position. And those second chance opportunities, he'll get those offensive rebounds 6.2% of the time. That's good for nearly among the best of the best at his position, the 98th percentile in the NBA. He can rebound. He can get those second chance opportunities, get those missed free throws from the opposition there. He wears number 10 for a reason. Maybe he ain't Dennis Rodman, but my goodness, he's he's a pretty good rebounder, isn't he?
Well, and another thing too, that really helps with that is it really having a guy at that size, who can rebound at 6'8" and be physical and scrap like that. That really gives you an edge of versatility to put him at the 5 spot, depending on the matchup that you have. Of course, we know who that 5 spot's going to go to 95% of the time. But for that
Casey
5
Viera,
spot,
that's what he's going to go to. Casey Viera.
Right, of course. But depending on the matchup, the way things are going, Zach Collins is not going to be able to keep up with a lot of these small ball fives that they have out there. And it's just they need someone more versatile, more athletic, who can be a pretty good to above average interior defender and rebound and not totally stagnate the basketball. Not saying that Collins does per se, but not totally stagnate the basketball and be a little bit more fluid with it. If that can be a consistent thing to spell Victor at times, that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge because for the most part, that backup 5 spot is probably going to be fluid anyways, depending on what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Night to night. I mean, if we're being honest, what is it? Maybe like 7 rotational spots are only guaranteed for the Spurs.
Yeah,
if that, and that's when they're a team that's trying to figure things out a little bit. So maybe that gets tidied up that's tidied up a little bit, but that's going to be a big element if you can do that, and a big asset for the Spurs team.
Yeah, I was just like I said, crunching the numbers, and I said, okay, well, how does he compare to other players at his spot? And I was like, oh my God, he's one of the best at his position. Like as far as getting those second chance opportunities for the Spurs, cleaning up the glass, getting those missed shots. I mean, even offensive free throw rebounding, 76th percentile among players at his spot. So he's even good about just getting those Spurs missed free throws as well. I like to see him continue doing that. And you're right, they're going to need him because he does occasionally play the 5. And we don't know how Bassey's going to look coming off the injury. Collins is Collins. He is what he is, I think, in my opinion, at this point of his career. Sochan still has that room to grow. And if he can grow even better defensive rebounding, just a rebounder, shoot, go for it. Yeah. And I think you're going to probably, for Victor, you're good. It's good to know you got a guy like that can help you clean the glass as well. Victor's, a billion-foot reach with his length and everything, but he can't do it all. So to have a complimentary player like that for Wemby will be good. And it's also not just for Wemby, the other players, second chance opportunities, grab and kick out, Harrison Barnes open, pass it out to CP3, reset the offense. So I think that is just awesome that Sochan can be such a good rebounder. I'm looking at just overall, just everything about Sochan. I got this question for you now, Casey. Is he kind of under the microscope this year? Okay, Sochan, rookie season, we get it. You're learning the game. Okay, sophomore Sochan, you're still coming along, but now you're third year Sochan. Is it time to expect a lot more out of him?
I think, again, as was the case last year, there was a microscope to see who fits around Victor, who doesn't. I think that microscope's there again this year.
Okay.
It is. I think that's not just a Sochan thing. I think they have a better idea of what to put around Victor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the process stopped after year 1. You know what I mean? Victor is only this is only year 2. This is only year 2 Victor. We got a whole, God willing, a whole generation of this in San Antonio to happen, and it's still going to be a very fluid process. And much like was the case last year of seeing who worked around him, what didn't, put him at the 4, put him at the 5, all those things like that. It's going to be the same thing this year with a little bit more rhyme or reason as to what they need. They got some of those answers last year, but they're going to get some of those answers again this year. And tough decisions, just like we thought could have been the case last year. And for the large part, none of them were really made. And for the most part, none of them were really made last year. They still probably present themselves this year. And if things don't necessarily work around Victor, they see some sort of, square peg in a round hole, that potentially players are probably vulnerable to being moved for better options. And I think the same exact thing that applies last year, and as it should. And that's probably why a lot of the Spurs fans last year were so, again, in some respects, rightfully missed with that first quarter of the season, where there was just so much loyalty given to Jeremy at that point guard spot was that his struggles took away from Victor's touches. And that was thankfully, and it's a testament to the coaching staff to ultimately realize what it was and that it just wasn't working. Thankfully it wasn't overly detrimental. We knew it wasn't going to be overly detrimental to Sohan,
Right.
but it wasn't overly detrimental to Sohan because but given the frustration that he was having and the failures that he was having in the first half of the season, and you could see, and by his own admission, it was getting to his mentals. That thing really could have spiraled down bad.
Oh, for sure.
That could have that thing really you could have lost a whole season of Jeremy Sochan if his head wasn't checked in the right place. But it was. He got through it. They took him out of that spot. Essentially, they got him back in the bed. They let him catch his breath. They got his frustration out. They put him into a more comfortable situation. And then by the end of the year, you saw him excelling.
Yeah.
And the only thing the Spurs can hope for is that those steps that he took last year in a more comfortable spot for him and for the team collectively, that it grows this year.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin, if it doesn't grow, well, conversation's going to happen.
Yeah, here's
to button up that sentence.
Yeah,
yes, the microscope is on him. Yeah,
to just drive home the point of how much of a mistake it was to keep Sohan at PG spot. So a lineup of Trey Jones at point guard, Vassell at small forward, Keldon at the forward, and Victor in the middle, and Sohan at the shooting guard spot. Basically one of his spots, one of his natural positions there. The Spurs were a differential of plus 25.6. That was good for the 91st percentile among all NBA starting five units. That's how much glaring it was. Now, on the flip, a starting unit of Jeremy Sochan, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Wemby, and Collins. So again, he had Sohan at the point guard spot. That was good for a minus 20.7. So for a while they trotted that out here, and then with Sohan at point guard, even mixed basically every statistic where Sohan was a point guard spot, the differential just plummeted. And the Spurs were one of the worst starting units in the league. But you stripped them out of there and put a point guard like Trey Jones running the show. Hey, guess what happens? Guess what happens, Casey, when you put an experienced point guard who is trained for that, who understands that, versus a kid who's never done it. So guess what happens?
The numbers, a lot of the times when you see numbers thrown out there, they don't meet the numbers and the eye test generally for a lot of the times they clash. You have the old school theorists like, I don't need your fancy 2024 metrics. I know a ball player when I see it.
Yeah.
How many times do you see that coming? Almost every time when you
almost every time. Yeah. Yeah.
Almost every time. This might be one of the first examples I've ever heard where the data not only backs the eye test significantly, just overall.
Overall.
Overall, like that is. I want to say it's fascinating because it's not, but it's not fat. Maybe I'm not bright enough to pick the word for it. It's fascinating to see that like those numbers are even that much more dramatic.
They were
the eye test of what we already knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just obvious. And like I said, fine, Spurs, if you wanted to play with Sohan at PG spot, have at it. But for me, that was frustrating. There was a point, no pun intended, where it was not working. You didn't need metrics. You didn't need number crunching databases. Your eye test just showed you just him as a human being and his behavior and his mannerism. Should have told you. You don't do this, Pop and coaching staff. Get them out of there fast. But they kept them on there. And I get what they were trying to do. They've been searching for that big point guard. I mean, you look at Josh Primo, a big point guard. Look at Sohan, a big point guard. Look at Steph Castle, a big point guard if he does get slotted the point guard spot. But the point is they've been searching for a big guard, and they thought they had it in Sohan, and it was just a bust, man. They talk about bust in the Spurs, like, oh, is this guy a bust? Is this guy? I think this is one of the bust mistakes the Spurs have ever done in the Pop. regime is keeping Sochan at point PG.
You just took the question. I was going to pose the exact same question. I can't, at least in recent memory, can't remember such a. And this is why I say that thank God the coaching staff caught it when they did and they figured it out and they got his head right. Because this could have gone really bad. I can't remember from an X's and O standpoint with this team in recent memory such an overly ambitious hope just crash and burn the way that it did.
It did. It was disastrous.
I mean, there was. I'm trying
Casey,
to think very
Casey, you were in the post game chats with me a few times last season where they had Sochan at PG. Oftentimes they didn't bring him out, right? Why do I remember that? Like they didn't bring him out as much to talk to the media on hand.
Would you?
I remember that.
Would you bring him out after they're in the middle of a 19-game losing streak and he's the center point of all the criticism for not giving the ball to the generational star? I wouldn't bring him out neither.
Do you remember last season too? I think it was the Bulls TV broadcast that called out the Spurs. They're like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing here?" It was something to that effect. Like, why can't you just get it to your generational guy? So, I mean, it took even other NBA teams to see that it ain't working. But
there was the Cleveland game, Cleveland game where he took he took the half court shot with a timeout left. The Bulls one was the bad one. Stacey King,
that's who it was. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Stacey King torched the Bulls. And to be fair, I mean, Sochan had like a 4-play sequence, including an elbow jump shot that he airballed. Where it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Talk about numbers and iPads.
Exactly.
You don't need metrics for that one, man.
No, exactly. Well, kind of to put a bow on my point on him being a very good defender. To close out his season last year, the game against the Utah Jazz, he ranked in the 81st percentile in block percentage, with 1.5 blocks per game, and 88 percentile. So 20% of the time in that game, he was getting missed shots, just a defensive rebound. So again, versus the Phoenix, he was a beast against Phoenix on March 25th. 45% of the time in that game, he was getting opponents missed shots. Good for at that game, for tops in the NBA for that night. Seriously, I mean, again, against Memphis on March 22nd, 27% of the time he was grabbing rebounds off the missed opposition shots. So he's doing that right, and I think he should continue that. But I think your point about improved shooting, that's pretty much blanket across the Spurs. It's like every Spur can use help on the shooting side of things. But he is
though, for him though.
It is encouraging, yes. He is Casey Viera. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Viera. He's my colleague at Ken's 5. He's on the TV side of things. We'll be there. Oh no, by the time everybody's listening to the show, we will be at Media Day. So you're hearing this in the morning of Media Day, and we'll have a full report. Casey will be talking about that on the TV side, or if not, he'll hop on Locked On Spurs with me and sum it up. Casey, you keep it busy with them Cowboys, right? And Spurs now, huh?
Yeah, things are really about to pick up. It's gonna be a slow Sunday, though. Cowboys took care of business Thursday, so that'll be mellow. But you know what? We'll get ready this week for Media Day and training camp a few days after.
Yep. Casey and I will hold it down as rest does everybody else on Ken's 5 TV and kens5.com/Spurs. Make sure to go there right now and subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. The list goes on and on. Make sure to follow Casey _Viera on X. Let him know what you think about his take on Sochan. Let him know about shopping spots so he can wrap up his errands, quick, snappy, so he can go on couch and flop.
Oh, I'm done. I'm waiting in a parking lot right now. Finishing. I'm done.
All right. Let's
I figured it's better to podcast safely this way.
Yeah, exactly. No podcasting and driving, everybody. Casey plays it safe. So for Casey Viera, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.